Yep.
This meeting of the Muscatine City Council will now come to order. We'll begin this evening with a roll call by Fran Donaldson.
Councilmembers Lorette.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Nafig.
Present.
Shahade.
Present.
Bynum.
Present.
Phillips.
Present.
Spread.
Present.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you, Fran. Would everyone please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, at this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to Council Chambers. I think it's been a while since we've had this many people bless us with their company, and it's good to see everyone here tonight. I'd like to recognize a couple of groups that I know are present tonight. To begin with, John DeVete and Jane Dolfeld, your Leadership Muscatine class, welcome. And a huge contingency of our Clean Air Muscatine citizens are with us tonight. Is there anyone else? Very good. Thanks again for coming, folks. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please take the podium. You have 3 minutes, and if you would tell us your name and your address, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Your Honor, members of the City Council. My name is Sandy Stanley. I live here in Muscatine, 918 Acorn Lane, Muscatine. I'm the president of CLAM, Clean Air Muscatine. CLAM is a nonprofit organization working to improve air quality and make Muscatine a healthier, cleaner environment. Muscatine has the worst air quality in the state of Iowa, according to the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS. NAAQS are the safe air quality threshold for a community that is set by the Environmental Protection Agency. We believe that this status harms the physical, mental, and the economic health of our citizens and is a liability to our community. Instead of being known for the haze and smell in the air, we want Muscatine to be known as a city that looked at its problems, found the answers, and took bold and necessary steps to solve this very serious challenge. We believe this will help to build an image that will attract business and grow the economy. I'm here tonight to recommend the City Council immediately undertake measures to protect the citizens from this dangerous air. First, I would like to read a portion of the City Code of Muscatine, and this is from Title 8, Chapter 5, Housing Code. Quote, "The site and neighborhood shall not be subject to serious adverse environmental conditions, natural or man-made, such dangerous walks, steps, instability, flooding, poor drainage, septic tank backup, sewage hazards, mudslides, abnormal air pollution, smoke or dust, excessive noise, etc., etc." This code means that the city has a responsibility to its citizens. The responsibility is to ensure safe air that is free from excessive pollution, smoke, dust, and particles. Presently, one Muscatine Corporation, Grain Processing Corporation, which is a primary point source of air pollution, has announced a $100 million new dryer facility. This will significantly improve the air quality in Muscatine. We at CLAM applaud this effort and appreciate that GPC is cleaning up their facility and installing pollution controls. CLAM is aware that GPC is not the only polluter in town, but pollution at GPC will continue for years. According to the internal documents obtained by the Center for Public Integrity, production and therefore pollution is going to increase in order to pay for the dryer update at GPC. If you talk to CLAM members in the South End, they will tell you that increased production and resulting pollution is already evident to them. In 2011, Muscatine exceeded the national ambient air quality standards more than 30 times. No other city in Iowa violated these standards in 2011. Again, in 2011, Muscatine exceeded the national ambient air quality standards more than 30 times. No other city in Iowa violated these standards in 2011. Previous years they did, but not in 2011. Each violation severely impacts the health of our vulnerable citizens, especially those under 18, those over 65, and those with pre-existing health conditions. Presently, there is no warning system for days when air quality reaches harmful levels. We come to you as the city leaders and ask that you support the establishment of a warning system for our citizens. The warning system will allow our most vulnerable to get inside and get to a safer environment. CLAM would like to meet with the council at an in-depth meeting to present some suggestions and recommendations. We would like to accomplish this prior to the council's decisions regarding upcoming budget considerations. Items for discussion include creating a warning system and ordinances that would help alleviate some pollution concerns. Number 2, recommendations as to how the city can find the money to pay for the implementation. Number 3, suggestions for enforcement of the effort to clean up the air and water in Muscatine. We at CLAM hope you reflect on our request, consider the health of the people of Muscatine as you consider our request. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you, Sandy. We appreciate that information, and I can assure you it's well received by council.
Thank you. And I was just wondering when we could be in touch with you about setting up this meeting.
I would recommend that you call City Hall and ask for an audience with Greg Mansager, our city administrator, and myself.
All right, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Very good. Thank you again for your presentation. Item number 5 on tonight's agenda are minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the January 5th, 2012 City Council meeting and the January 12th, 2012 in-depth meeting?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Moved by Bob, and the second, Tom? Give me a chance to jot down the first motion, please. Thank you, council. Any discussion? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 6 under consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 8A through B and communications 12A through D and tonight's bills?
So moved, Your Honor.
Osama,
Second, Your Honor.
second Scott. Are there any discussion? Anyone? Another voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0, motion carries. From the city administrator, jumping down to item 11. Am I correct in that order, Fran? Thank you. Request to approve amendment number 1 to the Mississippi Drive Corridor project. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve amendment number 1 to the Mississippi Drive Corridor project. As a result of an environmental review, it was determined an amendment is needed to perform outside the original agreement with Stanley Consultants related to the preparation and submission of a 4 in parentheses F statement under the National Historic Preservation Act and the National Environmental Policy Act. The proposed amendment in the amount of $71,312 has been received and approved by the Iowa Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. Is there a motion to approve such request?
So moved, Your Honor.
Phil, second.
Second.
Jeanette. Another voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying
Question.
aye. Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. My bad. Discussion, anyone?
The question that I had was maybe a little more information on, it appears this is supposed to be a study that's necessary because this is affecting the Puritan property, supposedly. One of the questions I have is we have 4 options out there, none of which has been, at least at the last public meeting, receiving any more support than another. And a couple of them look like it doesn't. I mean, a couple of them at least the last one doesn't look like it's barely touching the property. And I wonder if, until we know exactly which direction we're going with this, if it's not going to touch the property, do we need to pay for the study?
Greg, I would ask you to comment.
Certainly. There's actually 5 options, and in the memo that was distributed in the packet by Community Development Director Steve Boca, he indicated that all 5 of the options in varying degrees do impact the property. So no matter which option the council would recommend, or the property is affected in some degree. Obviously, 2 or 3 of the options affect the property to a much greater degree and would require either removal or relocation as part of the project. 2 of the options affect it to a much lesser degree, but all 5 options do affect the property.
And these are the 5 final options. One of these will be implemented.
These are the 5 current options. The City Council is not active to date. This is additional information required as part of the project, federally required as part of the project, and is funded under the same funding which we're under budget for. It's an 80-20 match with a 20% local share.
Okay. I mean, again, to me, it just seems like putting the cart ahead of the horse until we know exactly for sure that it's going to affect the property. I mean, if we get to 3 more options and none of them affect the property, a study doesn't need to be done.
Hey, mind if I add a little to that? This request to do the 4F, this didn't come from city staff. These 5 options were sent up to IDOT, and this was their response that to move the process forward, that the next step we had to do was this 4F. So that's why we're at this point.
Mayor, let me ask you the question, what kind of timeline for this project?
Are you talking about?
Okay, that we're looking at a request for an amendment. When does the city get to put their 2 cents worth in on which option that we would like to have or not have, or not fix at all?
Are you asking about the
Yeah,
deadline, Bob?
and I think that to not fix it all, that there is actually technically 6 options. When they're doing this environmental study, there's always the no-build option. And so this study will be complete in the timeline. If you look in the memo, I believe mid-November 12 is what.
Okay.
And then from there, it'll have recommendations which is most favorable. And then from there, it moves to finding the funding and selecting the final option.
Mayor, I've got it.
Scott?
Andrew, could you kind of briefly, not just for council, but for citizens, kind of explain briefly what's involved in this study? It seems like a lot of money just to determine whether it's affected or not. I realize the city's portion is only 14, but still, you know, just kind of say this study is going to look at these factors, and this seems like a lot of money. And I realize it's necessary in this whole process, or we risk the federal dollars. But
You know, unfortunately, I'm not quite the right person to ask for that. Steve Boca, who's
and he's gone
on vacation right now, I've never personally dealt with the 4F study, so I can't answer that question for you.
Greg, can you address that at all?
Only what's identified in the memo under
memo?
the scope of services, under the Iowa site inventory form preparation, which lists the work that's going to be done based on the contract, and then identifying the process, which is identified under the Mississippi Drive Section 4F schedule, which lists all of the different parts that they're going to have to go through and the timeline involved. So,
What is the timeline? What is the deadline on this?
the deadline or the
Is there a
completion date?
deadline?
I'm sorry?
Is there a deadline?
In reference to what?
The dollars. Do we have to have this project moving in
The
place
4F
by a certain
contract?
time? Yes.
Andrew, do you know the answer to that?
Are you talking about the overall study or just the 4F component?
The 4F.
If you look in the memo provided, they have this timeline here, and it lists completion as approximately mid-November 2012. That's part of the contract.
Anyone else? Phil?
Well,
I have a question.
and my concern is where, are they basing this off of the magic site map drawings, or are they basing this off actual survey results from that? Because this shows shading into the right-of-way on option number 1E. It shows shading, but that, when they do the flyover, there's shading off of properties towards the distance, wherever the light is.
What this came out of, as part of the larger Mississippi Drive corridor, they've done site archaeological stuff, and based on results from this preliminary archaeological work was the determination that they needed this more detailed study to be done. So I'm assuming they did more than just the magic site, so
If you
they have it
recall-
on site.
If you recall, earlier this summer, they were on site digging holes on the side of Mississippi Drive all along the corridor there, and two in the street, the right-of-way itself. That was the preliminary archaeological study that was done by the state of Iowa to determine if we needed to move forward with this step.
Okay. Sounds like we're stuck.
Yes, just to clear one thing up here, I don't know how can we vote on amendment to vote on it, and we didn't even vote on the project itself. I mean, I know it's state money or federal money, after all, it's still our money, tax money. So I don't understand, and still we have to match some of this or whatever the city portion is. So
Absolutely.
if the project, it's not moving forward, then we don't know which project we're going to pick here. And here we are voting on amendment that we don't know which way to go, so.
It's an amendment to your engineering and planning agreement with Stanley. It's not the amendment to the construction agreement. We don't have that yet. We're still in the planning phase of the project. So we're still, and the city council approved that engineering services agreement with Stanley, last year? Was that in
I think it was signed in August of 2010, I saw in some documents
August of
today.
2010? This is an amendment to that agreement to continue with the recommended study or the required study based on IDOT findings. So it's an amendment to a current engineering services agreement.
What happens if we don't approve this?
Project doesn't move forward.
The entire project.
If there's going to be federal or state funding involved.
And there's work been obviously completed down around the curve by McKee and so forth, on down, and now clear out Hershey to Hauser. But there's a section in the downtown area that goes back over to the bridge that is part of this project also. So it's one big project. It's not, and I've heard people comment that, well, you just replaced all the concrete out over there, now you're gonna talk about tearing it up. Well, yeah, maybe, depending on how much of it you need to, or decide what option you wanna do. Having an option of doing nothing is probably not an option. In my
Anything
opinion.
else, Bob?
No, sir.
Sama?
Well, I think there's a lot of pieces missing of this project right here. A lot of answers to our questions need to be answered. Therefore, I would make the motion to table this here till we get more facts and be well educated before we make a decision on this. So I will make a motion to go ahead and table this. So.
I'll second it.
Just a comment, Mayor. I agree with that
There's
because.
no discussion. No comments, no discussion.
Vote on the amendment then.
We have a, and no discussion, so let's all signify by saying aye if you're in favor of tabling.
Voice.
What is a roll?
You can request a voice vote. Mark's requesting a voice vote.
Okay.
Or are you wanting a roll call vote?
I'm not requesting either.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay.
So do we do a voice vote, Fran, or roll call?
I think normally you can do a voice vote, but if there's gonna be some nays in here, I would rather have a roll call vote so that I get everybody's vote.
But you have the option of doing
Okay,
whichever you like.
let's do a roll call vote, beginning with Mark.
Aye.
Bill?
Nay.
Aye.
Zama?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Nay.
Tom?
Nay.
And what was the score? I wasn't writing it down. I should have.
4-3.
4-3.
4-3.
To
nay.
table.
In favor of
To
the
table.
table.
Oh, okay.
You want to table that to a specific date or time, Osama? You didn't put that in your request to table.
We can have it for our next meeting, a regular meeting.
Were you okay with that? Okay. Let's move along. Item B, request to approve engineering services agreement for design of the renovation, the Bond and Schley lift stations. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve an engineering services agreement for design of the renovation of the Bond and Schley lift stations. 2 proposals were received, with the low proposal from Stanley Consultants in the amount of $20,000 even. Is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved, Your Honor.
Phil, is there a second?
Second.
Tom? Discussion? Anyone? Okay, moving along, voice vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 7-0. Item C, request to approve submission of grant application to the United Way for the 2013 after-school program operations at Sunset Park. In detail, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the submission of a grant application to the United Way for the 2013 after-school program operations at Sunset Park. The Muscatine Municipal Housing Agency is requesting $17,000 to support the fiscal year 2013 program. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, Your
Art,
Honor.
and second, Phil. Discussion. Anyone? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0 carry. Okay, let's move along to item 14, which is communication council members, starting with Councilman Lorette.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have tonight is we're at that time of year again. Budget session's coming up. We have a full house here tonight, and I would invite all of you to come down and show some interest in our budget sessions. That's where the plans for the money being spent is decided. If you'd like to have a voice in that or see what's said, come down. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Phil?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Scott?
I had the same thing, Mark. I was going to say it's important, and we established a lot of priorities, and you can have a voice in those priorities. Encourage people to come.
Osama?
I would just add one thing here, that the schedule for the budget, it's on the website. Is that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So they can look it up there. Other than that, nothing. Thank you.
Bob Bynum?
Mayor, that I was in a meeting this week and was asked some questions, and I'll ask you the same questions. Can you tell me what the status of the bridge lights, the Muscatine bridge lights, the skating rink that I believe it says no skating on currently? There's a big sign that says no skating. And what the status of the Meeker boat? When is it going to move? Those 3 questions.
Let's see. Meeker boat, kind of go backwards here. I do not have an answer for the latter 2. I hadn't seen the sign on the skate. And the Meeker boat, they were still waiting for some repairs.
Okay.
I do not have a date. Last time we checked, they were still waiting on repairs before they moved that back into the river. And the first item, I apologize.
Bridge lights.
Bridge lights. Musco had an issue in receiving the fixtures from the company they ordered from. There was a delay in those. As soon as they have those, which I haven't talked to Brett this week, but as soon as they had those, then it was just weather dependent on them getting out there. And with the recent weather, I'm sure they haven't had a chance. Hopefully it'll clear up and they should be able to get out there right away.
Are we looking at a spring delivery on the bridge lights then?
No, not necessarily. It's really going to be weather dependent. If they
Okay.
can, if the weather clears up and they can have a good stretch where they can get out there and get it done, they'll certainly do that.
And the skating rink that's on the riverfront, who does the maintenance of the rink itself, taking the snow off the ice and things of that nature?
The city staff.
Thank you.
Jeanette?
May I ask about garbage? Greg, I've had several people say that they would like a larger recycling container, but it's not possible to do that? Or should they take a garbage bag and put their recycling in it and set it on top of their recycling container, or what? They just said that, you know, I've had several people say that the container's too small.
We had a period of time, the first couple months, where they could change it out. I'll have to check with Laura and see if we can establish another period where they could do that. They should not put recycling adjacent to or on top of the recycle bin. They will not pick that up.
Okay.
It needs to be inside the container. But I can check with Laura and I will send out a note as to whether or not we can have a second sign-up period at this point in time.
That's all.
Tom?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Okay. I do have a comment. As most of you are aware, the governor of the state of Iowa has a challenge out there with regards to an item he calls the Blue Zone Initiative. In fact, I don't want to catch you off guard, Jeff, but you probably know as much about this initiative as anyone. If you could explain, since we have a large captive audience tonight, I would like someone to go into detail a little bit about the Blue Zone Initiative and what that means or could mean to the community.
Well, the Blue Zone Initiative, again, is something as part of the Make Iowa the Healthiest State in the Nation. This is an initiative started by Wellmark and National Geographic and some other organizations. They've teamed up with the governor, and the purpose is to try to make Iowa the healthiest state. Just a little bit of background. A gentleman by the name of Dan Buettner went to National Geographic and talked them out of $1 million so he could travel around the world and find communities where people have lived the longest and the healthiest. And he came up with, I believe, 5 or 6 different communities. So they went in and they studied these communities and found out there were 9 things that they all had in common that helped increase their life and make them better. So they have taken this little formula, if you will, and that has become the Blue Zone Project. And by becoming a Blue Zone city, what we're going to do is to be able to get some training in here, if you will, to help us take some of these concepts and put them into place to become a healthier community. Iowa is going to pick 10 cities throughout the state to become these Blue Zone communities. They're going to pick 3 within the next 30 days or so, and then after that, they're going to pick the rest of them. And Muscatine is one of them that's up for this. But we do need community support for this. And what we need is for people to go to bluezoneprojects.com, and there's a sign up there. All you do is give your email, your name, your email, and tell them 52761, which means you're from Muscatine. And all you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm supporting Muscatine becoming a Blue Zone community. So if you folks could do that, it's bluezones with an S, projects.com. And they've got a regular website, so you can learn a lot of information about this. Actually learn the cities in the world where they've done their studies from. And there's a place there where you can go and sign up and basically say, I want to support Muscatine in becoming a Blue Zone community. So
I bring this to your attention because it's my intention as the mayor of Muscatine to proclaim next Friday, which is January 27th, to be Muscatine Blue Zone's Blue Day. We will, for all practical purposes, have a blitz on signing up either via the website. We would really encourage everyone to register, particularly you folks that are with Clean Air Muscatine. What a way to make a contribution here. You can also use your cell phone to register. It's really that simple and takes less than 2 minutes. I have the numbers here and the letters, BZP, and the number 772-937. If you want to see me after the council meeting is over, I'll pass those numbers on to you. But it's that simple, and on your cell phone, they'll ask you the same 3 questions that Jeff indicated. So January 27th, I'm proclaiming as Muscatine Blue Zone's Blue Day. We're asking you to get involved, and maybe even on that day, wear blue, huh? How's that? Okay. Thanks for your attention. Anyone else, Council?
Mayor, do you want to have a formal proclamation
We
approved by
won't.
council?
That's why I said you probably should declare, not proclaim it.
Well, but I got some additional advice from Greg.
We'll have the official proclamation on the next agenda.
That'll be in February.
Yeah, it'll have to be late.
We couldn't do it now?
No.
Just asking.
No.
Okay, no.
So for now, I will declare, and then later I will proclaim.
Yeah,
How's
there you
that?
go.
Okay, there isn't any other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Osama? Meeting adjourned.